a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes, it's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Open the pod bay doors now.
Keep your friends close, but your enemies close.
I am nothing! No one!
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Get busy living. You get busy dying.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Cinemaze, a podcast where a bunch of mates chat about cinema over some drinks. Today, I'm joined by my mate, Jiordan. Thank you for coming on. How are you going?
Good, man. This one's been a long time coming, but yeah, very excited to chat about this one.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a good one. Strap in, listeners. So in the last episode, you would have heard Jiordan did an elevator pitch for Genius, the Kanye West documentary on Netflix. And while Cinemaze usually focuses on film and TV characters, I do now believe that Kanye West, or Ye, whatever you want to call him, is in fact a character that he plays. And so because of that, and because the documentary was so good, I thought it deserved an episode. So here we are. This is history in the making, the first elevator pitch to warrant a guest appearance, Jiordan. So congratulations. And today we're going to be drinking some Henny.
Only fitting, I think.
Yeah. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you are following the podcast on your chosen streaming platform and leave a review to let us know what you think. And if you love YouTube as well, check out the Cinemaze YouTube channel where I post video essays about film and TV characters. So let's get into it. For those new to the podcast, I usually like to start these episodes with getting an idea of who our guests are and what they like to watch. So I've got a few questions about cinema, Jiordan. First question, Steven Spielberg or Quentin Tarantino?
Tarantino.
Why?
I just feel like I know like Pulp Fiction and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm a bit more familiar with that. With the Spielberg, I only really know Schindler's List, not the other ones, but yeah.
Yeah, nice. Fair enough. Next question.
I'm not like some of the people that have been on this podcast. I'm not the movie guru that you guys are. So
that's okay. And
I'm lacking in that department.
That's what we like. We like people who are different, and everyone watches different things.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, that's okay. Next question: Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones?
Breaking Bad.
Why?
Pretty epic. It's one of the best TV shows of all time. And I actually haven't watched Game of Thrones.
Really?
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Fair enough. I think, Breaking Bad's a great show. And, if you haven't watched it, definitely one to watch. Next question, Emma Stone or Emma Watson?
Emma Watson.
Why?
Just because I'm more familiar with her work, I guess.
Yeah. Are you a big Harry Potter fan?
Not like as big as like you or someone else, but like I like Harry Potter.
Okay. So next question, Marvel or Star Wars?
Marvel, definitely.
Okay.
Star Wars boring.
Really? You reckon it's boring?
Yeah, just like
don't
when
like
I
sort
watched
of sci-fi
June,
stuff.
it reminded me of that sort of thing. Like
June reminded you of
like,
oh my
so
God.
long. Yeah, no, it's not for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Like, as I said, people like different things. Do you have like a favorite Marvel movie?
The Avengers, like the three most recent ones, like the main ones. They were sick.
Endgame.
Yeah, they were all dope.
Yeah, they were awesome. Next question, Succession or Euphoria?
Haven't watched Succession. You gave me your elevator pitch for that. I'm definitely going to check that out. That sounds great.
Definitely one to watch.
Euphoria, I started it, watched 4 episodes, way too American for me, and that's it.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think that Euphoria, you think it's like a classic American teen drama.
Yeah.
And I was deterred as well after a few episodes, but if you stick with it, I guarantee it'll get better. But I do know what you mean.
Yeah. Like I actually wanted to know what happened, but I was like, I just felt like an idiot watching it. I was like, it's actually making me feel stupid. So
it is some heavy content for sure. So now into the deeper questions.
Yeah.
First one, most memorable movie that you've seen in cinemas?
Dark Knight, for sure.
When was it? Where were you?
Well, whenever it came out.
Like 2008, I think.
Would have been a Chatty for sure.
Chatswood.
Yeah.
Listeners who don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chatswood in the heart of Sydney. No, it was 2008.
Yep.
That's primary school. Yeah. I think probably a couple mates, primary school mates. It was just, epic experience. And it's one, like at the movies, like I get to the movie and like not that into it. And then I want to be like have the feeling where I don't want to leave the cinema.
Mm.
And sometimes I feel like with some of the movies I've watched recently, it's like I can't wait till it ends.
Yeah.
And I just reflecting back on that movie, I just didn't want it to end, you know?
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. And you get lost in it.
Yeah. Absolutely. You're like, oh my God, 2 hours passed and you didn't even realize.
100%. You get sucked into the world. No, that's awesome. Dark Knight's a great film. Next question, fastest TV show binge.
As you know, man, I can get addicted to something very quickly. So I've binged a lot of TV shows, but I reckon the one that I did quickest, like for how long it was, I did Prison Break very quickly.
Okay.
After the fact, though, like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't actually seen Prison Break.
Yeah,
but it's
one
like
where you just
heaps of seasons, right?
Yeah. It gets sort of crap after the first couple of seasons, but I was like, no, got to see what happens. Yeah,
fair enough.
I went through that
how quickly are we talking? Like, how was your churn rate?
Probably like 6 episodes at a time. It was after I got back from Europe in 2017. So just sitting there, laying there, just nothing to do with myself.
Yeah, nice. Back that. Next question, a movie that you think everyone needs to see.
I can say Dark Knight again.
Okay.
I just think it's that good. It's my favorite movie of all time. Just the performance by Ledger and Bale is just insane.
It's unreal.
And I feel like Bale goes a bit unnoticed because of how good Ledger is.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. I think
it's just even like I watched the recent Batman and it reminded me how good Christian Bale was. Even though he was good, but even though Pattinson was good, I still think Bale was the GOAT.
Yeah, no, 100%. Next question, TV show that you're watching at the moment.
I'm watching the new Lakers show on Binge.
Yeah, like Magic Johnson.
Yeah, they're like Dynasty, how it all started.
How is it?
It's pretty cool. I've only watched one episode. I think the next one's out now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's sick, especially for a basketball fan like myself.
Nice.
But even for the people who aren't basketball fans,
you can appreciate it.
You can definitely appreciate it because it's a lot like not basketball at all. Nothing really to do with it.
It's more the off-court drama. Yeah, cool. Haven't watched it myself, but I'll give it a go. So, as we know, the last episode featured the elevator pitch by Jiordan for Genius, the Kanye West documentary, which we're talking about today. And don't really need to review it because it was so good, and here we are. So we'll definitely get into what I thought of Genius throughout this episode. And the next Cinemates community elevator pitch comes from Nathan. So let's hear what he's got for me.
G'day Mick, Nathan here mate, long time listener but first time pitcher. Mate, here to recommend the 2020 horror film The Night House. Watched it the other night with the cheese and kisses and by God did we get a fright. It's got Rebecca Hall as a recent widower who's actually mourning the unexpected loss of her husband before unexplained things begin happening in the house that they were building together before he died. Mate, it's gripping from start to finish with some unbelievable twists and turns that I'm very, very sure that you'll enjoy. So let me know how you find it, mate, and yeah, all the very best. Nathan out.
Thank you for that, Nathan. Have not seen The Night House myself. Have you seen it, Jiordan?
I haven't. I'm not really a scary movie guy, but that actually was like nicely elevator pitched.
Me too. I don't like want to be scared, but I can appreciate a good horror film. So I'll give it a go, Nathan. We'll see how The Night House goes. And yeah, thank you for the elevator pitch. So to the listeners out there who haven't seen Genius yet, Jiordan, what would you say about the documentary in one word?
Breathtaking.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think I completely agree. My one word is going to be eye-opening.
Eye-opening.
And
why?
I think it was eye-opening for me because I definitely appreciate hip-hop. I like hip-hop music. I wouldn't say that it is my like favorite genre, but I enjoy it from time to time and can definitely appreciate Kanye West's work. But this documentary just showed how he became who he is and the artist that he's become, and to be able to see all the behind the scenes footage and like what he was trying to create, I think was really eye-opening for me. And I now have a greater appreciation for his music and him as a person.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's two sort of viewers that have watched this 3-part doco. Like, one, his fans, and two, people who like listen to his music but aren't really all in on like whatever else.
Yeah.
And I guess we sit on either side of those. And I feel like most people in sort of your boat where they like appreciate his music, don't really know much about him, now think like, wow, like I can see why he is the way he is.
Yes.
And it's so interesting to see what it was. So I guess your word of eye-opening makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen Genius yet, definitely want to watch. It's on Netflix. It's a 3-episode, hour each sort of vibe. And yeah, it's really
I think it's a bit longer than that.
Yeah, slightly
maybe
longer.
the last one.
But, worth every minute. So give it a go if you haven't seen it. And from here on, there will obviously be some spoilers. All right, let's get into it now. So Genius, Kanye West documentary. What did you think were some of the best parts?
Yeah, so the first episode, just in general, I feel like it's just so insane how much he believes in himself.
Yeah, from an early age.
Yeah, from whenever they start filming, and then it's so eye opening, for lack of a better word,
Great word,
for just how much the people around him believe in him, except the ones that he needs to believe in him.
Yes,
right?
100%.
Cootie, for one, obviously he made a life altering decision to just pack it all up and just move with this guy to
film him.
To film him. And I think that's all culminated in the amazing quote in one of the scenes where Kanye goes, someone asks him, "Oh, are you still filming doc?" He's like, "It's only the beginning." And that truly sends shivers down your spine. He's like, wow, he knew. Yeah,
100%. And I think that it was so cool and captivating to see his passion, as you said.
Yeah.
And he, from an early age, is so talented. He's trying to get signed by different record labels, ends up with Rockefeller. And this, I thought in the first episode, it was so cool when he believes in himself so much and he goes into their studio and starts playing his songs. Is that in the first episode?
Yeah, that's the first episode. So that was one of my points I said, where he just walks into Rockefeller and he starts rapping one of his songs.
Playing it to all these different employees.
Yeah, marketing manager, whatever it was, media manager. And then everyone's just looking at him like he's crazy.
Yeah.
But he's so invested in what he's doing. He knows he's going to be big. And I suppose for me, hearing all of those songs, that song was All Falls Down. These are the songs that I used to hear my brothers playing when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, 9 years old, whatever. And just to see that history of it all behind it, this is what my childhood was basically.
Yeah.
And that's what gripped me to the doco instantly.
Yeah, 100%.
The nostalgia.
I think that the first episode really dives into where he started. And I thought that being able to see him have that passion and really believe in himself and try and put himself out there was really cool to see. And you see him kind of being with what's his name, Mos Def or whatever.
Yep. There are heaps of famous artists.
Rappers at the start, and they don't really appreciate him yet, but
some do.
Some do, definitely.
Pharrell notably.
Yeah, was that in the first episode though?
Might have been the second, actually, or back end of first, but yeah, Pharrell notably it would have been the second because that was after the accident and everything, and that was the second episode. Yeah, we're jumping ahead a bit there, but yeah, the second episode where he obviously has the accident, and then Pharrell listens to Through the Wire, and he goes he walks out of the studio in disbelief at how sick it was.
That was insane, and we'll touch on that a bit later. But yeah, I think first episode was really what drew me in because I think there was a quote that he said just on the street in New York, LA, wherever they are at the time. He says that he wanted to get to the point where he drops his last name. He said that in 2001.
Yeah.
And it's
but it's weird because he says at first of all, you can't call me Kanye yet. You call me Kanye West now, but later I want you to call me Kanye, because he felt like he hadn't earned it yet almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the being able to say that, I thought was insane. And as well, the first episode really opens up his relationship with his mum, Donda. And, you see them talking on the steps of their family home, which obviously is now been in the Donda listening party. And you understand why that's so meaningful for him. And she believes in him as well.
Yeah, I think that really shows why he is the way he is, that overconfident aura about him,
For sure.
And just before I forget, on the point of the name, I think it's quite funny that he did become obviously known by just the name Kanye, and now it's to the point where he's known by the name Ye, like just two letters.
2 letters.
Yeah, so like it's even gone one step further.
Yeah,
than that.
it's insane.
Sorry to go back there though.
No. I definitely think that really hits home in this. And again, as well, like if you think about the relationship with his mum, like Donda, like imagine your son, you know, dropping out of university and just pursuing this music career, having a documentary filmed about you when you're no one.
Yeah.
And she believes in it. Like,
okay, he wasn't no one.
He wasn't no one.
That's what people got to realize as well, is he still made beats for big artists, and a lot of people would call that a good career just at that.
Yeah.
But that was not what he wanted. He wanted to be a rapper.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as well, just last point on the first episode, like you see him kind of starting to put on this like persona and this character, which is why we're talking about him. Like he starts to, you know, say all these things about how confident he is, and like,
yeah,
you can see these like tendencies starting to form early. What did you think about that?
Yeah, like obviously he's in the news cycle often. Like even this week, he was banned from Instagram for 24 hours. He does a lot of questionable things, and some things personally I don't agree with, but I think there's a rhyme to the reason.
Yeah.
One of these tendencies are forming because he keeps getting like messed around with to the point where people are talking behind his back or doing things behind his back. Like some of those people from Chicago in the first episode did that to him, like the people that he like grew up with that showed him like all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so he felt a bit betrayed. And I feel like that has carried on for the next, 17, 18 years since then. And I feel like that really was one of them. And then just
100%.
How he speaks. Nowadays, he sounds a bit more like he goes off topic a lot. If you've listened to any of his he goes off topic.
Goes way off topic.
It's insane.
What's he even talking about?
It's honestly like at his worst stages, like he went on the Joe Rogan podcast a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It was terrible. Like you're like, where is this guy going? Anyway,
TMZ, all that stuff.
So that's at his worst stages. But look, as a fan of him, like I'll always love and always respect him. Unless he does something very drastic, I'll reevaluate. But look, I respect him so much, and he's definitely one of the most influential celebrities in my life. And I feel like one of the key parts of the episode 1 where he's like real revolutionary sort of personality was evident was when he was being interviewed by the journalist in the back of his car, and he was just going off in the front seat while he was driving.
Yeah.
And he was just talking about where he wants to take hip hop, and like that was when he talked about the name as well.
Yeah.
And then he mentioned like, I want to do this with the beats. And then he went on to do that with so many albums. He reinvented himself every single time. And I just think
absolutely.
it's so impressive. And then the final part about that was when he was just saying like, I could have been like a thug on the streets. Like I'm from this street. Like, I don't know the streets in Chicago, but I assume those are where lots of crime happens. They have one of the highest crime rates in the world.
Yeah.
And he said, I didn't want to do it. I wanted to do something special. Like I wanted to be something big. And like, I feel like that's awesome. It really came into fruition.
100%. And I think that really, you know, is evident in this first episode. And you can see how the ambition is consuming, you know, his whole life.
Yeah.
So,
and the people around him.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving into the second episode, I thought that, you know, really steps up. We start to see him kind of like working with Rockefeller and Jay-Z and the others. And he's still being treated as a producer, as you said. Like he's an amazing producer, but they're all trying to like, you know, stick to the beats. Like
a lot of people,
and he's like, no, like I want to rap myself. Like I have all these things to say, and I think that starts to be shown in the second episode. What did you think of second episode?
Well, yeah, I feel like when you first see him in the studio with Jay-Z, you're like, oh, fuck, this is dope. Like he's made it, sort of thing.
Yeah,
and like I guess
getting noticed.
He's getting noticed, and I feel like it's important to say like Kanye as a rapper, like he isn't the best lyricist. Obviously, like some of the things he says, they don't necessarily like come off the tongue perfectly as a Jay-Z would. But I feel like it's the combination of the rapping and the producing that makes him who he is.
100%.
I feel like that was just important to note. But yeah, when you first see him in the studio with Jay-Z, you're like, holy shit, like this is it. Like, and it's just sick seeing two like absolute, like genius is the wrong word. I guess they are geniuses, but just absolutely like revolutionary stars going at it. Like, would love to be a fly on the wall in one of those scenarios.
100%. And you see Jay-Z starting to be like, oh shit, like this guy's like got talent. Like,
yeah, he's like mentoring him a little, and I feel like that's where their friendship started.
And they're like kind of tweaking the song, like, oh, like do this instead. Yeah. And it's really
and
cool.
Kanye's all he is. Like
yeah,
he looks like a person who wouldn't take feedback very well, but like he's all ears to Jay-Z, which I guess speaks to how cool Jay-Z is or how influential he is.
And I think that, you know, one of the best parts about this episode for me was how like he obviously was in a car accident, broke his jaw really badly.
Yeah.
Has it wired shut.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we see him like filming the surgery at the like, you know, dental clinic or orthodontist or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like still wanting to film and like work and like.
Yeah. The dentist goes like, stop filming. He's like, nah.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that was really cool. Like obviously, you know, he's still writing music at the time. And I think the dentist says something like, you know, this recovery is going to take a while. Like, you know, you shouldn't eat, you shouldn't like do anything too like strenuous on your jaw. And he's like, no, like screw that. And obviously that ends up in the song like Through the Wire, which is so insane in this
sick.
Episode.
It's sick.
What did you think of that?
Like that was just unbelievable. Like obviously when you hear that song, obviously I've heard that song before, you know the story of it, but I guess when you watch the doco, you find out the real meaning behind it all. Like on not the real meaning, but more so like the whole story, whole backstory. And yeah, I just feel like it just shows that he wasn't going to take no for an answer. Similar to how when he walked into Rockefeller and played his music and rapped along to it.
Yeah.
And similar to this where he literally has got wires in his jaw and he can't really speak. He still wants to rap. I feel like we all as 20-year-olds trying to make it in our professions can look at this and be like, don't take no for an answer.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's something I'm going through right now where I'm like, I don't know what I really want to pursue, like specifically. So I'm looking at like, just go in there, all balls, whatever you do, and just show that this is what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think not to turn into like an inspirational coaching podcast, but no, I definitely agree. I think it's really inspirational to see, and like nothing's holding him back. Like he doesn't want to stop. And personally, I had heard Through the Wire, but as I said before, like I'm not like a diehard Kanye West fan like yourself. So when I realized at the time that his jaw was literally like wide shut and he was still singing, and you can hear it obviously in the song, and he's still able to create all these beats, and he then shows Through the Wire to like Jamie Foxx and Ludacris, and then Pharrell Williams, who he shows him like Through the Wire and him like freestyling, and Pharrell Williams was like blown away at the time he hears Through the Wire. He storms out of the studio and he's like, nah, like that's not real.
Yeah. And then he has a word with him like, bro, like you are going to be it.
Yeah.
And
like, he knows that. And he says it.
Yeah. And it's cool how so many talented people recognize it as well.
Yeah.
But just not the right people.
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose eventually they did, but
yeah. So that's what I thought was interesting. Like Pharrell Williams is saying like, you're one of the best artists. It's like 2003 or 4 at the time. And even Rockefeller, the label that he's producing for, still didn't really back him. Yeah. He had to show them Through the Wire. And like he obviously then had like a second surgery, but he had to show them Through the Wire and the album that he was creating. And it was just
while he was signed, by the way.
Yeah, while he was signed. But
they were still pushing him back a bit though.
Yeah, they were saying stick to the beats, whatever. And I thought that was really cool to finally see it released, and like it ends up becoming, you know, doing really well, and
10 Grammy nominations.
Was it?
Oh, Through the Wire or
Through the
album? No, the album was 10 Grammy nominations. I'm pretty sure Through the Wire was one of them. Yeah.
And obviously Cootie, who does the documentary, helped with the Through the Wire music video. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. And then we started to get the college dropout concerts, and then I thought it was really cool with the documentary. They show those like first few concerts and stuff, but it's all like silent. They don't play the music or the crowd or anything like while that's happening. And it's amazing to see like how he's gone from like car accident to finally starting to make it. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's sick. It's sick. And I feel like one thing that might have gone slightly unnoticed is when they're in that dinner place. I'm not sure, was it a Mexican place, something like that? And these college kids are just there and they're talking like crap with them.
They're like drunk or something.
They're drunk or whatever. And then one in Cootie or someone says like Kanye West, like remember the name sort of thing. And they didn't blow it off, but they didn't like say like, well, hearing anyone say that would be like, okay, yeah, whatever.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. But I wonder where those people are now.
Me too. I wondered that exact same thing. I was like, imagine being those people in that diner or whatever and being like, I met Kanye West and I didn't like.
Yeah, maybe even like they would have been like a few years later when they saw Kanye on TV to their parents, whatever, like, I know that guy. And they're like, The parents would have been like, yeah, whatever. And then now they have like the receipt to show them.
The receipt. Yeah, no, I thought that was a really cool moment. And the other thing as well that, as you said, College Dropout got a lot of Grammy nominations. And I think he won an award for like maybe like upcoming artists or something.
Yeah, upcoming artists. There's a couple of the music videos. There might have been Jesus Walks. I can't really remember them exactly.
But in his speech, he's like, we need to I need to appreciate like every moment, such as him winning that first Grammy. And I thought it was unreal to be able to see where he started from the first episode, second episode, and then being able to see like that he's reached the top.
Yeah. On the Grammy point, I feel like his speech is just sick where he goes at the end, like, everyone kept asking me what I'd do if I didn't win. And then he goes, looks around and he goes, I guess we'll never know.
And like, obviously he's very confident, but it's really cool to see him like feeling that. So
yeah, we haven't really touched on Cootie much yet. I feel like we'll get to that in the third episode, but I feel like the rifting in the relationship,
you start to see when Ye says like he wants to get Hype Williams, who's a huge director in the music industry. He wants to get Hype Williams for one of their videos. I'm not sure if it was, I can't remember. Anyway, Cootie knows Kanye and he goes like, are you sure? Because like he doesn't know what you like how particular you are. And like he's like, whatever. And I feel like that's when the sort of first rift begins in their friendship. Yeah, for sure. And I think the documentary, obviously Cootie's filming all of this and he's a big part of it. And you start to see that rift. And it was interesting to hear Cootie talking about it. And we even see that footage at the Grammys after party where Cootie's filming him and Kanye's like drunk and he's just won.
I think it was after the Graduation album, not the...
not the first.
Not the College Fallout.
Yeah.
Dropout.
So he's obviously won like best album, hit the high of like musical achievements. And he's filming Kanye, he's like drunk and Kanye calls him Chike.
Multiple times.
And he's like, nah, I'm just messing, bro. But you can kind of see that he's not, and he just like doesn't care about Cootie. Like after all these years, like Cootie dropped his life and filmed this whole thing. And and Kanye's just like drunk and he says like, oh, Chike. And you can see Cootie's like heart just like drops. He's like, bro, I'm not
it's so
Chike.
sad, man.
What do you think of that little section?
Yeah, I was just like really sad. As I was watching, I was like, oh, don't say it again. Don't say it. And he just keeps saying it.
Yeah.
You're just like, what are you doing, man? Like, obviously he's under the influence, but like.
Just shows like how blind Kanye is to like those around him maybe at times.
Yeah, at that
in the
time.
pursuit of, trying to get to the top.
I feel like he is self-aware upon reflection.
Yeah.
So like he would have known like, oh yeah, I was being a dick then.
Yeah, for sure. And it's good to see Cootie like focusing on his family. Like I'm pretty sure he has his daughter like Ivy. And I thought that it was cool that they didn't just focus on Kanye despite it being about him.
Yeah, of course. Well, Cootie's obviously with JK, obviously the producers. So yeah, I feel like it really culminates in the end. I feel like this is a good passageway to start the third episode review. That in this episode, you realize like it's actually just as much about Cootie as it is about Kanye.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's really cool to like see they do kind of like go through, obviously his whole life like very quickly towards the third episode.
Yeah.
Like we see, the rise of all these like greatest hits, like obviously all the controversy as well, like the
But there is a big gap in between there.
Big gap, yeah.
6 years, I think it is.
Yeah, and you see like all the infamous stuff that like has happened, like whether it's like the Taylor Swift,
thing,
Grammys thing, or like the list goes on, like TMZ, whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really cool that it does focus on Cootie and his like friendship, and we see that Kanye literally says, or Cootie says that Kanye said that he was playing a role, like he was playing this persona as Kanye West, and like he told Cootie that, and I thought that was really interesting because you're like seeing maybe a bit of the truth behind it all.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
Okay, yeah. So I thought that was really interesting because after I finished watching the doco, I checked out Cootie's Instagram. So I went onto it and he posted a video of Kanye and him doing the premiere for the actual doco. Yeah. So I went onto YouTube and watched the full video, and Kanye says like, yeah, if people had seen all those videos of the doco like a year later, I would have been way too embarrassed to do it, because like he knows like that he might have been putting on a bit of persona for the camera, and he didn't want them to see that real vulnerable person behind the camera, not behind the big lights, but actually in front of a camera.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just before you go, I think it's also important to note on that YouTube video that I watched, if anyone hasn't seen it, he actually ends up saying like, Cootie, like, I love you, brother. Thank you. And I feel like that was a cool moment just to see him.
Yeah.
Like,
seeing him like appreciate like what he's done.
Yeah.
100%. And I think this episode was really cool because, you know, Cootie kind of says that there's obviously that, 6-year break or whatever. And Kanye wanted him to start filming him again. And now he was being referred to as a Yeezy. And Cootie kind of says like, I hadn't met Yeezy.
Yeah. Bit of a chilling moment.
I thought it was really cool. Like Common is hosting like a festival, and Yeezy was playing, and he wanted him to film that. And I thought,
but the reason why that was happening was it was in Chicago, and all three of them are from Chicago: Common, Cootie, and Kanye.
Oh right,
yeah.
I didn't pick that up.
So that was like a full circle moment a bit.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool, and I think you do see Common kind of early days, but like very slightly.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see that. And then we obviously get he releases the Life of Pablo album, which, you see the listening party when he plays Father Stretch My Hands. And
so this is its own segment.
It's got to be its own segment. This was my favorite part. I'll just explain. So, I thought it was so cool. There's a listening party and he plays like Father Stretch My Hands, and he's with like Pusha T and a few other like big rappers, and the song's about to drop and he starts like jumping around. It was so good to see.
Yeah.
And I'll say that since I watched it and saw that on the documentary, like I've been playing that song non-stop. What did you think of that?
I've seen that video before. I've seen the photo of Cuddy, because Cuddy's in the song. He's doing the vocals.
Yeah,
I don't think many people know that he's actually singing those vocals in that song.
Kid Cudi.
Yeah. That's why they're getting around each other so much.
Oh right.
He's the one that goes New Orleans or whatever in the background.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they're singing together, and the whole of Kanye's good music label is around him. So Pusha, Big Sean's in the background there.
Oh, okay.
Buddy's obviously there, but he has his own separate thing going on as well. And Travis is in the background. Obviously, Kanye and Travis are very familiar with one another, being brother-in-law, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And all of them are doing different stuff. Like Travis is getting hyped, whereas
is
just bobbing.
They're all loving
Big Sean's
it
sort of just listening.
in
It's
different
really
ways.
cool. Really cool to see what they're all doing.
No, I definitely agree. I think it was really cool to see. Can definitely resonate with that. I think it was really cool as well seeing him record the Kids See Ghosts album with Kid Cudi, and they're kind of, you see, and you see like them saying like, oh, like I'll do this and I'll like tweak that and do this, and you're seeing them like collaborate. And I thought that was really cool to see because, at the time, like Kanye was kind of like, he'd been admitted into a psychiatric hospital, and like, he's got all these things going on with his life. And you also see Kid Cudi talking about like suicide and drug addiction with Kanye. And I thought that was really interesting. What did you think of that kind of section?
Yeah, so like obviously they both had their battles with mental health.
Yeah.
Cuddy, I would say a bit more so. He's a bit more vocal about it, at least.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they've obviously been friends for ages. Kanye actually found Kid Cudi, I guess, in a music sense.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was working in a shop and sort of how it happened.
Wow.
So yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah, and their friendship they're currently not friends right now because of some Pete Davidson thing going on, but I'm sure they'll come
rekindle.
Yeah, rekindle. But yeah, that was sick. Like, I feel like just a separate point, not really dealing with the characters there. Like, you heard them recording and you could hear their bare voices, especially Cuddy. And I don't think people realize how many times these artists get auto-tuned for the effect.
Yeah.
So I was watching with my girlfriend Shania, and she was like sort of surprised at Cuddy's voice naturally, but I was like, well, you got to take into account there's no music in the background, so it sounds a bit different.
Yeah.
And two, obviously there's a lot of auto-tune that goes into it all. He still has a beautiful voice.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like that's just an important little side note.
No, definitely. I think, and you can start to appreciate that. And then you kind of, the episode moves to like more about how Kanye's talking about his Yeezy brand, and he's like starting, that whole venture and
fashion venture.
You can see Kanye like giving feedback on like shoes, like, no, like I want this. And like, you can see him actually like working. And I thought it was good because, as you said, like he goes on all these tangents and you don't really know what the hell he's talking about because he's playing this character. But I thought it was actually really interesting to see him actually create products and like be a businessman.
Yeah.
That makes
I feel
sense.
like it's the same thing with the fashion. People doubted him and he was like, all right, well, if you're going to doubt me, I'm going to just do this thing again. We'll run it back.
Yeah, for sure. And at the time as well, like he had the whole controversy with Trump and like, the TMZ thing. And then kind of in like 2018, he starts to like come back and focus on being a creative. And I think he says that like, I want to focus back on the music or something.
Yeah. And then he starts producing albums for
and like Sunday Service. And I thought it was really cool to kind of see. I think it was actually in COVID, like fast forwards to 2020 and he's in like the Dominican Republic and it's so cool. He's just like recording this new Donda song and like he's like talking about it. And again, like seeing him actually create. What did you think of like the more recent stuff with that?
Well, yeah, I find it interesting how he always goes away to create. I think that's
he does
cool
like going to China and stuff like that.
He needs to obviously get away and do his things. When he recorded one of his other albums, Jesus is King, sorry, had a mind blank. Apparently, just interesting side note, apparently all the people on the team, they had to be virgins because he was just like so all in on making it very pure. Like the production team, I can't remember exactly, but apparently
they all had to be virgins. How did he verify that they were virgins?
I don't know what he did. Maybe it wasn't.
Did he check?
It wasn't the production team. It was some team. It was some group. Okay. And he was like, you'll have to be virgins.
That is
because
insane.
He was just so all in on that.
Oh my God.
That is a real sidetrack because that's not even in the movie. I guess that's
no, but that adds to like the character that he's playing.
Yeah, I feel like it's important to note for sure. But yeah, seeing him always go away to like go all in on his work, and then just like little things like they are away. I'm not sure it was the Dominican Republic or another time when they were away, and he's eating like obviously like an expensive steak, and he's using a plastic knife and fork.
Oh yeah,
and another thing
that was just like his like lunch.
I was like, surely like, you are like a billionaire. Like you don't need to eat with a plastic knife.
Yeah, I was noticing that as well, actually.
Yeah, just little things like that. I was like, I'd love to know like why.
Yeah, like what's the motive?
Yeah.
Again, like just touches on like how interesting of a person he is. But I thought it was well like obviously Donda's a huge part of his life, and she obviously passed away. And
feel like we didn't touch on that too much. The passing away.
Yeah, that was obviously a big part of his life, and he like kind of doesn't really deal with it for a bit.
Yeah.
But then
that explains a few of his episodes.
Yeah, and he says at like a concert, like it's like a week after or something, and he says at like a concert, like she would want me to come back out here and keep going or something.
Yeah, he almost feels sorry for him at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was really interesting when she's obviously passed and it's like very recent, and he's speaking with his dad, who doesn't really get much of a feature until this point. What did you think of that? phone call?
That phone call was cool because at the end of the phone call, Cootie keeps like shouting to the phone, like, say hi to Papa West or whatever he says. And then Kanye sort of like, go away, like I'm talking to my dad sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then he goes like, I think his dad must have asked like, who is that? And then he goes, oh, that's Cootie. I've been best friends with him for 30 years.
Yeah, he finally acknowledges it.
Yeah. And as like from Cootie's perspective, watching this show, watching this doco, you just like, that's like a real, like a win moment, I guess.
Absolutely.
As a viewer, you're like, finally some recognition. But yeah, Cootie's obviously trying to look out for Kanye. It's so evident he's trying to make sure like he's mentally okay, always like going with him now and like telling his dad to look after him, all that stuff. But yeah, dad, not much of a feature. I'm not sure if he came into the fold because he saw Kanye getting a bit more famous. Maybe he wanted a piece of. I'm not well versed enough to make an educated analysis on that. Okay. But I can tell you another little side piece for you guys.
Go for it.
Jesus King, the album, when they recorded the song Follow God, it is in his Wyoming ranch that he owns. And he's going around in that little buggy or whatever car he's in with his dad. And then we had an interview after that talking about his dad. He's like, I never realized my best friend in my life is actually my dad. I know he says all these sort of comments all the time, but I think maybe he finally realized that he is a lot more like his dad than he thinks. This is when he was finding himself within sort of religious standpoint, because obviously that album's all about religion and Jesus and things like that. And his dad actually is a pastor.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that's probably why he sort of became a bit more close with him.
Oh, right. I didn't know that. But yeah, I thought that was definitely really interesting to see kind of the relationship with his dad. And then shortly after that, he's talking with like a bowl designer, like ceramic, like designer, and he's talking about Yeezy and the brand, and he says stuff like, we're going to change the world, we're going to change fashion, like, and he says all these things, and you think that they're like outlandish, but he actually has like achieved them. And I thought it was really interesting to see the starting point of those thoughts and how confident he is saying it to people that he's partnering with.
Yeah. He was in debt for a while, like. He wasn't. Yeah. He had to take a few steps back to take it like multiple steps forward. Obviously, the Yeezy brand has taken off now. I'm not that one well versed in the fashion field, especially designer clothes. Like I'm not really sure how it goes. Like so, I'm not too sure how actually high up he is. But look, he loves fashion, and I feel like that's something we haven't touched on enough because it's clear like he wants to show himself as like being this guy who wears expensive clothes, looks good. And he always raps about clothing. Yeah,
for sure. And I thought as well, like at the time he like did the whole presidential campaign and the speech was like quite odd. And he like kind of breaks down and talks about abortion and how his dad nearly terminated him and there wouldn't have been a Kanye West. But what I thought was interesting was that you saw him reacting to the news, talking about it.
That was sick.
And he's like, shut up, like let me watch. And they're like, stop, like you don't need to listen. And he's like, no, like I want to see them like agreeing with my like points. And I thought that was really cool. What do you think of his reaction?
Yeah, it was cool to see like the raw reaction. I've always wanted to know when it's like celebrities scrolling through Twitter or the news.
Yeah, 100%.
See themselves. So yeah, it was cool to see his reaction and like the person he is, he looked at that like, okay, I can get better. Like I can improve from this point. Like next time I have a speech, I'll be better. I won't do something.
For sure. So, I guess you being a very big Kanye fan, were there any like sort of parts that weren't included in the Genius documentary?
We touched on this before. Just there was not much to do with his dad apart from that one scene. And I feel like that's it, really. The other part that,
or his love life,
yeah, pretty much nothing at all. And he did have like love interest at that time. If you go look him up, like I think he was engaged in 2012, 13, and then it fell off. And then he went and did My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Oh, really?
After that, and he went all in on that, and that's why it's such a lot of people think that's his best album, his best piece of work.
Yeah.
So yeah, not much about his love life. I would have liked to have seen a bit more about that, but I guess Cootie wouldn't have been
involved.
filming him if he is with a girl.
Yeah, true. I thought that was interesting. It wasn't really a big part. Either was Kim, who he was obviously married to. But as well, kind of to wrap it up, it was amazing to see that progression, and you see the kind of flashback through his whole life. At the very end of the episode, it goes all the way back to where it started in like a montage, and I thought that was a really cool way to end.
Very cool.
And when it finished, I was like, wow. That's all I had to say. Like, wow, I can appreciate what he's done and who he's become. So now I thought it might be just like a good final note as well. Like, do you believe that Kanye West or Ye is playing a character?
Well, yeah, it's clear he's playing some sort of character. Like who he is to the public face is different to who he was behind the scenes.
Yeah.
As you can see. I feel like nowadays he's way more raw and who he is to everyone. And that's why people think like, what are you doing? Like you're going in a mental episode. Like, what are you doing calling out Pete Davidson? But that's just who he is. Like he's not harming anyone. Like
no.
In the news cycle this week, they were like, we want to get him off Instagram because they think he's being like violent, but he's not being violent. Like he obviously is passionate about his kids and like what's happened with his divorce, and he's obviously still heartbroken, and that's why it comes out that way. Obviously he could do it in a different way.
Yeah.
I think we all can see that, but you do, like, as a Kanye fan, I feel like you can see like he's just being raw. Like
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And no, I think from the like different perspective of me previously just seeing him as like an artist, I can like now see that, yeah, he does like kind of put things on. Like he has these kind of very public reactions to things, as you said. And that is just like kind of raw emotion that he maybe doesn't control. And maybe he is like putting on to like whether hype up his brand or his like albums and stuff. So bit of a question for the Cinemates listeners. Do you think that Kanye West is a character or playing a character rather? So any sort of last, thoughts, comments, feelings about Genius?
Yeah, I had a few quick fire points. We might have already said them, so I'll go over them sort of quickly. The first one I think is important to, I guess, ask the listeners as well, like, and something I've been trying to ask myself, why didn't they release it earlier? Like, why did they decide randomly now? Like, let's chuck it out, like 20 years after the fact nearly.
Yeah.
I feel like that's interesting. I'd love to know about that.
Yeah, I did a bit of research on this. Don't know the exact motive, but Netflix bought the documentary off Cootie and Chike
for 30 mil. So glad our boys got paid.
Yeah, me too. And it's interesting that they thought now to release it, but I'm kind of glad that we got the like really recent final bits, like him talking with his dad and like his Sunday service and all that sort of stuff.
Just seeing how many people he leapfrogged. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I saw someone pop up and screen, they gave the name there, I would look them up. Like if I didn't know them, obviously I knew most of them, but the people I didn't know, I was like, oh, where the hell? Like, where are they? Or what did they do with their music career? And it's insane how many people he leapfrogged. Absolutely. I thought it was interesting to see. He obviously starts with kind of Jay-Z's label Rockefeller, and it was interesting to see, as you said, like leapfrogging, Mos Def, like Common, all these people that come into his life, and he's trying to gain acknowledgement from back in those years, but now he's surpassed them. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. Like, it's important to note that he didn't pass Jay-Z. Like, I'd say they're probably level playing fields. Yeah, in terms of revenue or like money made, Jay-Z is higher, but in terms of name, I guess if you ask a random person in the street, I guess they'd know Kanye's name more than Jay-Z. Depends who you are, but for sure. I just thought it was good just to touch on a little bit about when he does these crazy episodes, it usually correlates with an album release. I feel like some viewers and some non-fans or not too deep fans should realize that. He's trying to get publicity. He's trying to get everyone to listen to his albums, and it usually works. So I think that's important to say. That is really interesting. I, as a lesser fan, but still appreciate it. I do find myself seeing him in the news cycle, seeing what he's doing around those times, and I never quite really noticed that. So that is a really interesting point, and I guess goes to show like his like tactics and motives
And maybe even like, again, as we said, like playing that character. So that is a really interesting point.
Yeah, 100%. Other little quick ones was
Getting on the quick ones.
If you're amidst watching it right now, chuck on the captions because you want to see when he does his freestyles, what he's rapping about.
I didn't do that myself, but I think that, you do kind of miss it if you don't. And it would have been really interesting to see what he's actually saying.
Some of his lines are just insane. Like, when he's doing All Falls Down, he goes, she couldn't afford a car, so she named her daughter Alexis. I reckon that was just saying that was just sick.
Yeah, like little things like that.
It goes without saying, it's obviously very inspiring, not only from Kanye, but from the Cootie, but also Donda.
Yeah, for sure.
Just how much confidence she instilled in him.
Such a great mother.
And then I feel like we all can look at our own mothers after that and be like, well, I should be a bit more appreciative. It's important to always just keep your family close and yeah.
And he does have that appreciation for all the support that she gave him. And I thought it was really interesting to see that in this documentary and get a glimpse of that. So that is a wrap for Genius, the Kanye West documentary series. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Cinemates, a podcast where a bunch of mates chat about cinema over some drinks. Jordan, huge thank you for coming on. Obviously, this is a real person and a documentary rather than the usual cinema that we discuss here on the podcast. But I do think that Kanye West is a bit of character. So thanks for coming on.
No worries, man. Yeah, it was really good. I feel like just like how Kanye evolved throughout his career, your podcast can evolve a little bit, talk about
Yeezy's the new cinema.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I was worried that it would be a little bit of verbal diarrhea just because I had so many thoughts in my head. On the way here, I was like listening to Kanye music. It felt like I was cramming for an exam. But it was heaps good and I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, definitely. I think really enjoyed discussing Kanye's life, and I do now have a greater appreciation. So thanks for getting me to watch it, and thanks for the elevator pitch.
No worries.
Cinema's history elevator pitch becoming an episode. So well done on that, and congrats. So to the listeners, as always, please let us know what you want to hear about in future episodes. And if you ever want to send in a mailbag or do an elevator pitch like Jordan did, please send us a DM on Instagram at cinemaze_. Otherwise, we will catch you for the next episode. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Cinemates. If you enjoyed it, you can follow us and leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all other major platforms. Also, if you haven't already, check out our Instagram and YouTube channel for more Cinemaze content and let us know what you thought of this episode. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge Australia's first people as the traditional owners and custodians of the land and pay respect to the Cammeraygal people of the Eora Nation upon whose country Cinemaze is based. We honour the storytelling and culture of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities across Australia. Also, in the spirit of chatting with mates, remember it's always important to check in with those around you, whether it's friends, family, or colleagues. Sometimes they may be going through a hard time, and chatting with them may reassure that they aren't alone. If you or anyone you know is ever struggling, call Lifeline on 13 11 14.